Listen, I know it's the end of March, and I never talked about the books that I read in January and February, but we're going to rectify that right now. So have a seat. Let's get started. What up, Search fam? Sade here. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. If you are new, my name is Sade. I'm out here curating, co-creating a cool-ass life and telling you about the books that I read month to month. Now, whether this is your first time on my little corner of the internet or you keep coming back, have not subscribed, might I invite you to join my internet family to be made aware of every time I post, which isn't usually on the weekends. So go on and hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a video. All right, family, like I said, this first quarter has been a lot, child. This semester is taking the kid through there. It's taking me through. And so I did not get to giving you all my January and February reading wrap up. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to talk about the 28 books that I read in January and in February. And hopefully you come away with something that you want to read. Now, I have the stack of physical books, which most of them, some of them I read immersive read. So I read parts of it in physical form and parts of it in audiobook. And some of them I did read in physical form. Okay. And then if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my story graph, which holds all of the other books. And I'm just going to, outside of the physical books, I probably won't remember what month I read them in, but I will give them all. And then I'll go through the books I read in January and February, just as they come up on the story graph. I finally did it, friends. I finished the Nightmareverse trilogy by L.L. McKinney, and maybe I'll do a video about just reviewing the series as a whole because it is already done. And honestly, I like this. This was a good ending. This was a satisfying ending. And so this is, if you have not heard of the Nightmareverse, it is a Black YA Alice in Wonderland retelling. And in this one, Alice is trying to, find out what happened to her friend Chess, as well as she's on the run from the Red Queen. The Black Knight is trying to be on her butt, and she has to travel the Nightmareverse. And her mama don't trust her because she don't be where she's supposed to be. And that's so real because she's like 16 having to save the world. And I thought the fact that we get more of her mother, more of her grandmother, and it sort of really rounds out the interpersonal challenges, and a lot of this is steeped in grief over the death of her father, which is how Alice gets into being a dream walker. And so the ship I wanted to sail sailed, but there were also some little hinks in there that I wasn't ready for. I had a great time. This was really good. So this for me would be a definitely pick up. And again, for those of you who are new here, when I talk about my reading wrap-ups, I usually, instead of going by a number or a star system, I'll say definitely pick it up, maybe pick it up, or I wouldn't recommend picking it up. Because sometimes I do have books where I'm just like, I wasn't a fan. But that's not the case when it comes to this one. So also, I finally did it, friends. I finished Madness by Antonia Hilton, which is Race and Insanity in a Jim Crow Asylum. And ooh, Chile. This book had me feeling a loss of feelings. And so it is an academic text that talks about the Crownsville Mental Hospital in Maryland, which was an all-Black mental institution at the end of the 19th century, so the 1800s into the 20th century. And I spent much of the book crying, because the horrors of racism and white supremacy And then how that got attached to mental health or mental illness. It was difficult. It was so difficult. And I was so angry reading it, but it was fantastic. It was well written. It was sort of steeped in Antonia Hilton's own personal experience with family members that have been institutionalized or, killed because of mental illness. And for me, it was really good. And I read it just because of my interest in notions of psychoanalysis, right now madness, and how that gets rendered out and how that's attached to race and things like that. So if you're not here for nonfiction or academic text, I'm definitely going to say don't pick this one up. Also, if you're not good with sort of graphic depictions of real state-sanctioned violence and white supremacist violence, do not pick it up. It is a very heavy text. I am glad that I read it, though. Another one that had me in my fifis is Begin Again, James Baldwin's America and Its Urgent Lessons for Our Own by Eddie S. Glaude. This has also been on my TBR for a long time and on my bookshelf at schoolhouse. And so I finally read it. I did this as both audiobook and I read parts of it in the hard copy because Eddie Glaude reads it. And Eddie Glaude has a great voice. And I picked this up initially because I do have an interest in James Baldwin. James Baldwin is one of my favorite writers, but also I do academic work around Baldwin, which I'm picking back up. And so this talks about Baldwin and Baldwin's assessments of America, democracy, race, and racism. And it's put up against the first Trump presidency. And so how Glaude, who is a scholar in African American studies, and writes a lot about democracy and politics, is sort of thinking through the time that Baldwin lives in and what it says to us today, and going through very much the same things, same political climate or things that precipitate what we have been experiencing now. It was fantastic. I really did enjoy this, and it sort of helped me to get back into and think of my thought processes on Baldwin. I finally read How to Become the Dark Lord or Die Trying. And honestly, once I got into it, it was funny as heck. But I think the first maybe quarter to third of the book was so repetitive because it is as like a Groundhog's Day rendition of the story. Like that's the trope one of the tropes that he uses. And so it was hard for me to stay engaged. So I ended up picking this up as an audiobook, and then I did read parts of it. And so it was funny. Like once you get past the first third, I'd say. And so this is about Dobby, who is in this spiral where she's like, we don't know how she's gotten into this fantasy world that has like orcs and things like that. But she has died 1,000 times because of the Dark Lord. And so finally she's like, she's supposed to be the savior of the world. She's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm tired. I'm going to become the Dark Lord. And so she goes about trying to get to becoming the Dark Lord, and she like ends up sort of amassing this group of people. She needs an army. She takes these misfits, and then she goes in all of these machinations to become the Dark Lord. And she does it at the end. But what sets up for the second book, which I'm probably going to read because I did enjoy this one, is like, what does it mean to actually be like, what happens after you become the Dark Lord? And sort of that is what we get by the end of the book. I would say yes, pick it up. Definitely no. But it was fun. It was a fun time, and I enjoyed it. Now, one of my personal curriculums for this time period has been about short stories and the craft of short story writing, because I'm trying to improve my ability to write shorter fiction. And so one of the things that has been helping me to think through that is The Language of the Night by Ursula K. Le Guin, which is a book of essays about writing science fiction and fantasy. And I did this one, I read parts of it, and I also listened to parts of it on walks and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed it, and I found it super helpful because I admire Ursula Le Guin, even though I have not, like, her books are on my TBR. Like, I have The Wizard of Earthsea on my TBR, as well as I started The Dispossessed and put it down because I wasn't quite in the frame of mind for it. If you don't like personal essays, if you're not into science fiction, fantasy, this is not going to be for you. I thought this was helpful. Would I necessarily recommend it to y'all? Probably not, unless you're into writing. And then yes, I would, because there's a lot of wisdom here, especially from like the feminist perspective, which I found very interesting. And I always think about this in conversation with like Black science fiction writers, of course. Now, I told you I was going to do this, but I finished On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong, and oh man, what a gorgeous piece of work. And I told y'all this when I picked it up, right? That it was just some of the most beautiful prose that I have read in a while. And I enjoyed it, and it was so gut-wrenching and painful at times. And the relationship between Little Dog and his mother and his grandmother, especially his grandmother, at times like made me think of my own grandmother, and the relationships we have as people of marginal identities, in this case as an immigrant, just really, really beautifully done. So I'm going to read you like a quote out of it so you can see how beautiful the prose is. And it says, "I want to meet the millionaire of American sadness. I want to look him in the eye, shake his hand, and say, it's been an honor to serve my country." I would totally read this again. And I love the fact that because of the way it's written, and I feel like I may have said this before, that this invites you to read it slowly. And some books you bust through and you just can't put it down. But this book invited me to read it slowly. So very good. I would say definitely pick it up. It is an absolutely gorgeous piece of work. And then finally, as far as my physical books go, I read Mojo, Conjure Stories by Nalo Hopkinson. And I was picking out parts of this, so I read it to try to find a short story to assign to one of my classes at the beginning of the semester. So this was a January read. And it's good. It's good. It is short stories that deal with like who to root work in Conjure. I think that it's super important, and I would say pick it up, especially if you have an interest in this. And I'm a big fan of short stories because you get a fully fleshed out tale that doesn't take you a long time to get through. And it has selections by like Neil Gaiman, Devorah Major, Nnedi Okorafor, and Tananarive Due. So you'll see some familiar names in here as if you are into science fiction and fantasy. So I enjoyed this one. So I would say pick it up if any of those things are of interest to you. I read What a Match by Mimi Grice, and I read this as an audiobook, and it is about a woman who named Gwen, who ends up needing a place to stay, and ends up staying with like her, I think, brother's best friend, but she's also or he becomes her roommate. That's it. And she's also, because he's having a problem with his apartment, there's like a leak or something that has to be fixed in his home. And so he ends up rooming with her in her apartment. Child, it took me a minute because this was back in January. Don't judge me. And so Gwen is also utilizing a matchmaking service to try to find someone to date because she's over it and she wants to be with someone. And then she and Tony are living together and they start getting close and like, right, exactly. It was cute. It was cute. It was a short audiobook. The readers were decent. I also read The Wrong Pucking Guy by C.R. Jane, and this is the second book in that series. And my friend Spoken recommended this series to the group chat. And I just want to say, this series is absolutely unhinged. Unhinged. It's a hockey romance, and this one is about a girl, a woman who ends up, and I don't remember her name, moving to LA for a fresh start because she was, I want to say like a former model or something like that, I forget. And she was in the foster care system, and this hockey player on the same team as the first book, his name is Ari, he knew her from foster care, and so he's been following her, like keeping up with her, and then she moves to LA, like he's been high-key stalking her, but go with me. And he is just like, this, she's the love of my life, she gonna be with me. And the machinations that this man goes through to get this woman, it's unwell, truly, like definite red flags, but I had a great time. So yeah, check the trigger warnings because like I said, it is unhinged. It is very wild time, friends. So be mindful. This might not be everybody's cup of tea. And I definitely, there were a number of portions where I just was like, he did what?
Oh my
God! Girl, okay. I also did as an audiobook Grace and Henry's Holiday Movie Marathon by Matthew Norman. And this was adorable. And I enjoyed it because, and yes, I was reading a Christmas book past Christmas. I'm grown. I do what I want. But this was great because it was talking about two widowed people, so a widow and a widower, who both like lost their spouses in like the last year or so, and their families are like, oh, you need to date, da, 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 da. And they start becoming friends. And like, especially Grace is like not particularly attracted to Henry, which I kind of love, but she like falls in love with his character and things like that. And the kids are cute, and how he interacts with the children and gets the son into doing art because Henry's like an artist and does like advertising. And the talk about grief and moving on after grief, and then finding companionship, because initially that's what it is. They find companionship in one another through their grief and the awkwardness of their families trying to get them together. And so I thought it was really darling. It was really darling. I enjoyed it a lot. I reread Endless by Devin Sinclair, which is Clarity Coast Omegaverse, and it is, I won't say it's the best written thing, but I enjoy it. I enjoy Devin Sinclair's writing of Omegaverse, and this is about Isolde, who hires a pack to come home with her for her sister's wedding. So her family and everybody is off her back because she's the oldest, and you know how people are when the youngest sibling gets married before the older siblings. And so she's like, I don't want people to think that I'm still hung up on my ex, who was actually a piece of trash and treated me so bad, and nobody understands that or has seen that, and he's gonna be there because he's the best man of the groom. But the pack is amazing, and they're like escorts, but she ends up being their fated mate. And so getting her to get on board with that and all the things. And she's just like a wounded person from being abused by her ex alpha boyfriend. And so it's sweet. It's a good time. I would suggest, I would say to me, it's a definite pickup, but not because it's the most groundbreaking or best written thing, but it's a good time. I also read Bonds and Blooms, A Sweet Omegaverse by Polly Maple, and it was okay. I'll probably still read the second book. This one, I'll read you the synopsis. So she's wary of alphas. They're determined to be her safe place. Faye Nightingale doesn't want to be pouring tea in a sleepy small town forever. From day one at Scent Valley University, she knows that she made the right choice to leave behind her comfort zone. She gets a cozy apartment, friends who feel like sisters, and a new sense of freedom. All that's holding her back is her underlying apprehension of alphas, something she's forced to face when she stumbles across the most eligible pack on campus, a pack who believes they're her scent match. After an unexpected heat spike causes Faye's world to unravel, her body and heat straight to betray her. The Silverwood Pack will do anything to prove they're worthy of their Omega, but even fated love isn't perfect. It was cute. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Again, not the best written thing. I think that there was some room for improvement there. Sometimes the pacing. And me personally, like, I hate the trope of a main character that's just like weak and very like, oh, I've experienced nothing and you're going to teach me everything and da-da-da. Girl, hang it up. Hang it up. But again, it was all right. It was all right. I had fun with it for what it was. I did as an audiobook Deep Work, Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World by Cal Newport. I actually found this super helpful for me. The concept of what deep work is, and it also gives tips for how to better incorporate and strategies for better incorporating, making space for deep work, knowing that we are constantly attached to our phones and our emails and things like that, which makes it hard to focus and like really lock in to do things. So I personally, I found that to be a really helpful resource. I redid A Soul to Keep by Opal Rayne, the Duskwalker Brides #1, because my friend Ray is I'm getting her into reading lots of smutty romance novels. And so she was like, oh, you have to listen to the audiobook for this. I'm like, oh, I've read this before. She's like, no. Listen to the audiobook. Friends, Wolfgang Milliken, I'd listen to that man read me a 5-foot long receipt from the grocery store. That's really why I listened to that book. And he's great. That's what I'll say about that. I did The Seven Dials Mystery by Agatha Cristie, which I told you all I was going to do more Agatha Cristie. This one I didn't quite enjoy as much as in Then There Were None, but it is about murders that seem to be happening, and to again a group of friends, and we're trying to figure out who and why. And there's like a secret society involved called the Seven Dials. It's not a club, but like the Seven Dials Society or whatever. It was all right. It was just all right. I did the Bond Dissolution Omegaverse both parts as audiobooks, because the audiobooks just came out and they were very good. Y'all know I've read the Bond Dissolution Omegaverse. I love it. It's one of my favorite Omegaverse series. And so if you're into audiobooks, definitely do the audiobook for that one. Now, I also, on Vibes, read Hell Knight Academy, all 3 books as audiobooks, because I discover things on the internet and on the library, the Libby, and this was the Hoopla website, because I think that's how I find some of my books, that instead of taking recommendations, because sometimes y'all recommendations just can't be trusted. And not y'all as in my subscribers, but y'all as in people on Book Talk and BookTube and stuff. Like, I've taken some recommendations and read them and just been like, are we okay? What are y'all reading? But this was great. Listen, James Kavanaugh. He did over five distinct male voices. Distinct accents and all, baby. Him. I forget her name, but the main character is what's called a light guardian, and they're supposed to be set apart or descendants of like angels that are like keep things in flux and keep people from becoming victim to demons and other creatures. And so for some reason she has not been accepted, like she's from a lineage of light guardians, and for some reason she has never been accepted into the academy where her mama's the headmistress. And so she gets an invitation to go to Hell Knight Academy. Come find out, she's part demon. And I'm not gonna spoil the surprise on that one. But so the three books are about cosmic war, angels versus the demons, and the people that get caught in between. And she has like these things called these tethers, and some of them, she has like 5 of them, and they're romantic. And 3 of them are the headmistresses of the Hell Knight Academy's children, and there's politics there, and it's going around. And she's just trying to figure out what's what. It was a great time. I enjoyed it very much. I devoured those 3 books like nobody's damn business. I also did The Religion of Whiteness, How Racism Distorts Christian Faith by Michael Emerson and Glen Bracey. This was a book that I read for the class I'm teaching on American social thought for work. And child, it pissed me off. But because it's talking about my graduate student studying white Christian nationalism, so we're reading books towards that. And so reading that along like Baldwin's Begin Again, child, oh, stressed. That's all I'll say about that. Again, if those things are of interest to you, yeah, it's a good book to pick up, but not a definite. But if you're not interested in those books, then definitely don't pick it up. I did Undone by the Ex-Con by Talia Hibbert, which is the second book in the Just for Him series, which is technically 4 books, but she re-released The Roommate Risk and the Fake Boyfriend Fiasco. So I did Undone by the Ex-Con, which these are interconnected. They're interconnected in the series. And this one is about Isaac Montgomery, who is a millionaire, a murderer, and a high society's latest novelty. After all he's been through, it should take more than a prima ballerina with a cut glass accent to get under his skin. But when Isaac meets Lizzie Olusegun Keynes, he doesn't just lose it, he effing melts. And after a recent diabetes diagnosis, Lizzie is losing control of her body, her career, and it seems her desires. She shouldn't want a man as coarse and cruel as Isaac, but the lust between them burns just as bright as their hatred. And when Lizzie's beloved brother is threatened, the issue is taken out of her hands. Whether she wants to or not, she will pursue Isaac. Her brother's safety depends on it. There's just one problem. She's starting to fall for the brooding, secretly sweet ex-con, the ex-con she must betray. It was good. It was a good time. This is a Talia Hibbert household, baby. So I had a great time with it. I think the narration was decent. I think the characters from, I guess, the Fake Boyfriend Fiasco come up in this one. Yeah, some of the characters from there, and then work for it. But that is after this one, I believe. The Problem with Dating by Brittany C. Cherry. I read that one. That was super cute. This is like small town romance, and the narration was solid. The Problem with Dating is grumpy sunshine, small town romance, enemies to lovers, and the female main character, whose name I forgot because again, read this at the top of February, is inherits like a dog grooming and kennel situation. And this guy, Alex, who is like a restaurateur from Chicago, goes to this small town because he inherits the theater in turn that from his aunt who just passed, and he's so angry and so sad. He doesn't want to be in this small town. He thinks everybody hates him. But the female main character, she's like a ray of sunshine. She tries to be nice. He's all pissy, and then eventually they fall for one another. It's very cute. I enjoyed this one a lot. I would say definitely pick this one up, especially if like Grumpy Sunshine and, you know, small town romance are your jam. Though this is a good one for that. Now, I finally got through Elevator Pitch by Evelyn Lee. Grayson Park. That man. This was a good one. This was a really good one. So this one is about Selah, who is trying to put herself out there. She's trying to date. Dating is trash. She also is trying to put herself in more public spaces because she's an intense introvert and she's very bookish and all of these things. So she develops what she calls a fuck it list that she's trying to get through to help her to live more life. And so she ends up running into her neighbor Grayson, and he is automatically entranced with her, and they end up talking. Like, he reads the book that she's reading on her Kindle, and then now, you know, that's my type of time. But also he's like, well, let me help you with your list. And the way he talks to her, yeah, definitely picked that one up. And I started doing this as the physical book, and then I had a hard time getting through the first couple of chapters, so I did the audiobook, and the audiobook was great. I had a great time. I reread The Fake Boyfriend Fiasco. We know this is one of my comfort books. I'm not going to talk to y'all about that too long. I also reread Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Marie Brown, which is something that I'm thinking through, like abolitionist ideas and like community building and all of that. And so I read this for that, and I did both the physical book, which my physical book is at the office. That's why it's not here. But also the audiobook. I also have vibes picked up What Happens in Paradise by Olivia Spring and did it as an audiobook. I found it on Hoopla, and it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. She was a cute time. So this one is the Love Hotel series. This is book 2. We know I'm chaotic. I didn't realize it was 2 at the time. Judge your mammy. So read the first book if that bothers you, but I'm gonna read you the description real quick. Hotel guest relations manager Jasmine, also known as Love Alchemist, adores her job at the exclusive Spanish Love Hotel. She prides herself on helping guests meet their perfect match, but matchmaking is absolutely forbidden between staff. And so Jasmine must resist the attraction she feels every time she's around delectable sous chef Alejandro. The problem is she knows the feeling is mutual, but she cannot jeopardize her job or break the rules because all her hard work is about to be recognized when she's asked to set up a new branch of the hotel in Jamaica. With an ocean between her and temptation, Jasmine is ecstatic. This is just the distance she needs to keep her feelings under control, but there's one kink in her plan. Alejandro has been asked to join her for 2 whole weeks. Under the sultry Jamaican sun, keeping it strictly professional becomes impossible when romance is literally all around them. So they agree a secret holiday fling may help them satisfy their desires, and then they can move on. After all, what happens in paradise stays in paradise, right? Oh my gosh, Alejandro is such a sweet man. But also I love this because this is age gap. She's in her 40s and he's 26. And baby, he pursues her fervently and then turns her every way but loose. He is, whoo! Yes, ma'am. Yeah. This is a great time. And the narrators were really good. So I really enjoyed this one. I'm actually going to continue this series. Okay, we made it. We did all of them. So what did y'all read January and February? I think it was a good month. I know I said I was going to be reading less books, but like I just read at my own pace. And, you know, sometimes that ends up still reading almost 30 books in 2 months. Let's not judge me too hard. So let me know, what are you reading? Put it in the downstairs area or the comment section. And as always, friends, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend about the channel. I'll see you in the next one.